Welcome to Dear Business Coach, the podcast. My name's Elizabeth, coming to you from the Walker Consulting Works studio. Find one thing to move your business forward today. With conversations, spotlights, interviews, articles, and free resources. Listen, follow, and subscribe on social media. Dear Business Coach Podcast. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. And don't forget Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, and anywhere you listen to podcasts. All it takes sometimes is one little thing to move your business forward today. Well, Laura Doman, welcome to the Dear Business Coach Podcast. This is really exciting. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, I have a couple of questions to ask you, but I think that I want to hear some about your projects that you're working on. So will you introduce yourself and tell us what you're up to these days?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. I wear a few hats here. I am an actress as well as a video coach. And as far as my latest projects, well, I'm on one right now. I'm making a web series, and I get to play a role that is so much fun. I am actually playing an evil, murderous stepmother, which goes against the type I'm usually cast at, which is like sweet grandma and that kind of thing. So that's probably the biggest project I have right now. But when I flip to my other hat, I am doing a lot of speaking because I'm a video coach to help people feel more comfortable and charismatic on camera themselves. Because, face it, we got to make videos. That's how we promote ourselves. Most people are preferring video over text. And a lot of people don't know how to use the equipment. They don't know how to feel good about speaking because it is a form of public speaking. So in that way, I kind of help them stop the scroll so people actually pay attention to their videos.
So, Laura, as a professional actor, is it tricky to present on camera for business versus the art of acting?
Not at all, because way back, I was a corporate gal. I was actually an IT sales exec. And so the best part of the job, in my opinion, when I was doing it, was the fact that I get to stand up in front of people and present and sell and talk and interact. So it's very comfortable for me. And I do a lot of that. I mean, I do it a lot with voiceover, especially like e-learning, which is training videos. But I've also done a lot of commercials and industrials. And an industrial is where you're presenting something to employees, or maybe it's going to be at a trade show. It's for internal use. It's not going to be to try to get necessarily customers outside. And sometimes I am wearing the outfit of whatever it is. Like I did one not that far long ago, like for Georgia Southern, where I was just looking like, one of the repair people. Another time I was wearing a Home Depot apron, and we were in the store with people milling around going, like, what's going on there? And I was talking about the latest spring lawnmowers. So I'm very comfortable with it, but it is different. Business is very different from then just pure entertainment, which is why I like to live in the middle and just kind of help them bring them together. Because if you're trying to promote something you're doing with your business, you got to put some entertainment in there. People are going to be bored and they're just going to move away. But there is a little different attitude. The commonality is that you're telling a story no matter what it is. And you want to be able to tell it as it's coming from your heart. You really believe it. It's genuine. And it means something to you. And it means something to the people who are watching. And that's going to be true whether you're looking to see if this is a company I trust, or am I going to really believe that this is an evil, murderous stepmother? Is this just some, woman just running around trying to look glamorous and acting stupid? You have to believe what you're doing, and then you have to relate it to the audience. Now, when you're talking to business, you're going to be more or less yourself. You're not really playing a role, but you're sharing a personal element as well as your very professional side. When you're doing acting, you just sort of subsume yourself in whatever character that is. But the trick to acting, for anybody who's ever interested in that, even on doing it on the side, is that they want to see who you are. You never go out and think, I think this is what they want. I think this is what they're looking for. Because half the time they don't know. They want to see the real person inhabit that role. It's like you are the soul inhabiting a human body, a personality. And that person might look different, but different people live inside of it. They're going to express differently. And that's kind of the way I look at it. if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I recently connected to with your videos online was momisms.
Yes.
and
Those
I
are fun.
and ever since seeing some of those posts, I keep thinking of other little things that I do, and it makes me giggle. And I feel like I'm having a private conversation with you. I want to go message you. I,
You
and I
should.
just is that the kind of thing that you just naturally, Laura Doman, you have these kinds of fun things to share in your bank of ideas? How do you come up with your content?
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm going to share with a little secret. A lot of that can be original, but do you remember when you go and you travel and you go to all these little gift shops when you're at the beach or you're visiting a city and just you go there and you find these little funny sayings on napkins and on aprons and on towels and all that?
Mhm.
Well, I started writing all those down a few years ago and I kept a collection. And I thought how much fun that would be to be able to act them out. And I decided to go ahead and do that, partly because it's creative expression. One thing they're going to always tell you in acting classes, you don't just sit on your butt waiting for a project. Go out and make your own content. Well, I'm not going to make a whole film like a lot of people do, but I can be me and I can do it in short little snippets and I can do it with my iPhone. That's all it takes to make video these days. And so they're only about 10 seconds long. They're funny. They relate to my persona. I'm a mom. I got a
Mhm.
sense of humor. I do a lot of comedic stuff. And so I kind of acted out the way I think it should be. And then there are funny things that really happen. Like I make a dessert and I put it away so we're going to enjoy it later. And my husband finds it and starts eating it, turn that into like a little bit of humor. And that one did really, really well. Um, other times could be about when you get a spider crawling around. Well, you can't do it like in the good old days. In the good old days, you ask for a phone book and you got a dead spider. And then your husband knows to pick it up. There's a bug underneath it. What are you going to do today? Your cell phone? So I made something funny that said, okay, hey, daughter, can I use your cell phone? Or get me a phone book. No, she said, how about a cell phone? Get with the times, boomer, Boom, you got a broken cell phone, but there is a spider underneath it. I mean, things like that. And it's kind of funny because people start giving me suggestions. And I actually went and I visited a LinkedIn friend when I was traveling recently. And she said, can I be in one of your momisms? Oh, I haven't done that before. But I thought about the relationship, what was funny. She's a mom of really young kids, like toddlers. And my kids are now teens and young adults. So we talked about the difference between moms of young kids and older ones by the stuff you have in your purse. So it's just kind of life. So when we meet up, we'll do a momism. If you got any great ideas, just throw them my way.
Okay, I do have one written down for you. I'll type it out.
Oh, good. Got to do that.
Yeah. uh, oh yeah, I was on the treadmill and I tried to change the speed with the volume on my cell phone.
Oh, yeah. 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 I know what you're referring to is the one about being in the car where, you just kind of turn down the radio so you could see better. Yeah.
Yes, that's the one.
We all get so confused.
Right. Well, there, when I was in, I don't know, fifth or sixth grade, maybe, there was this book that I carried around in my a little, I think in style at the time was a purse shaped like a book bag, right? This little cute little tiny backpack. And it was just big enough for me to fit this paperback in, maybe 6x8 or 5x7 little paperback. So you want to be a Hollywood actor. Now what?
Right.
And if anybody's been following I've started a LinkedIn live about being on a podcast. So you're going to be a podcast guest. Now what? So that's where the title kind of comes from. And I'm bringing this up with you today because um, in that book, So You Want to Be a Hollywood Actor, Now What? It was all about the business, right? Of what if you want to be a star, what you need to be thinking about in terms of treating that like a business. And I am curious to know, did you want to be, an actress when you were growing up? And how did you get to where you are now, helping people with business skills and presentation and your love of your career, which is taking is you're working on some pretty amazing stuff. I want you to tell us more about that too. But yeah, so did you want to be a superstar when you grew up?
Oh, I came out of the womb wanting to perform. I was that little kid who would insist on the parents sit there and watch while I acted out all the favorite fairy tales as much as I can remember, and dragging my little sisters in. Even the baby got dressed up, played a prince or something. Yeah, I mean, I loved doing that. I was very creative as a kid. I did a lot of art, did the theater, piano lessons. I sang, even though I wasn't that good, but I sang. And I was a theater kid all the way through school. And when I was in high school, I even was the announcer for the morning announcements. Um, that came about because I was in all these clubs and I couldn't hear anything because everybody's so darn loud in homeroom. So I'd go in and find out, and they said, "Would you like to read them?" Yeah. Next thing you know, I'm doing all the morning announcements and I'm training other kids to do it because it got to be so popular. And finally, people actually quieted down in homeroom. So the school was pretty smart about that. So I always was very interested, but I've always loved business as well. And when I was involved with a lot of organizations, I liked being the treasurer, handling out the money and all that. And my parents, who both come from the business world, looked at acting like, oh, you got to be kidding. We're not paying for that. You got too much on the ball. And by the way, you're not a triple threat. You're not pretty enough. You don't have a network of people out there. Mm-mm-mm. And I thought,
Yeah.
they're right. And I do love business and I want to do that. But it always became a side thing. I mean, when I was doing all the corporate IT stuff, I was doing some theater. And then when I got into sales, I dipped my toe into some of the professional stuff. I even had an agent, and I was able to do some commercials, and I was able to do a little film here and there. But once I started traveling for business, that didn't happen. And then I decided to stay home with kids when they came. And then later on in life, my daughter had some speech issues. She was like 2 years old and she couldn't speak clearly. And that wasn't normal. And I also knew my daughter needed to speak because she's a born communicator. And she's a very strong personality, and all that means a lot of tantrums. And so we got her into speech therapy. And to reinforce that, I found a wonderful children's theater, which she loved. My daughter's a lot like me. She got into the musical theater and she could sing like you wouldn't believe it. And then she was begging to get into film and TV. Well, we found her an agent. And then I found they were looking for some older people. And I dusted off my stuff and said, I really want to do this too again. And they took me. And so my stuff just sort of took off. And when you talk about the business, I want to mention a few things about it. It is a business. Now, when you're going to go for acting, you don't just show up. There is a tremendous amount of training. You've got to train all the time. You never stop because you're always evolving. And the idea is that on film, it's very small and intimate. People relate to you with your eyes, which is why I'm talking and looking at the camera right now, even though you're down there. And they want to see how you really feel and can we trust you? And there's a different type of training that goes for stage, which is big, so that everybody in the last row all the way back can hear you. It's different again for voiceover, where nobody can see you, but they can hear you. And you have a very intimate relationship with the microphone. Now, as far as the business aspect is, besides knowing training and the investment involved, depending on the path you choose, there is going to be some outlay, especially, let's say, with voiceover. The way things are done now since the pandemic is that everybody records from home in their own home studio. It costs a bit of money to do. There are different levels of it, but if you're going to be professional, you have to do it right. You have to have not just your training, you have to have demos. This is true for on camera as well as voice work. You have to have the coaching, and you're always auditioning. And you have to be able to manage your business because there are going to be fees for some of these sites where you get your auditions. You are going to be paid by your agents, but you got to give them commissions. Things that you get on your own, especially with voiceover, you need to invoice. You need to be able to follow up. You need to find your own work most of the time. And so there is very much a business aspect to it. I actually wrote a blog. I blog, 3 to 4 times a month on my website, lauradoman.com. And I wrote one article that was all about how to get started. If you're really interested, and I'm not talking as a hobbyist, but if you really want to explore professional acting or voice work, here's what you need to know. And it's no more than a few minutes to read, but it lays out the basics of what the industry is really like, what you need to get started in each one of those, and how to go about it smartly. Because there are so many scamsters out there, and they especially are going to target young people. And by that, I mean teens and children. There are a lot of parents who are very eager to get their kids into the business. And there are certain things that you need to be aware of. One, you shouldn't be paying anybody to take you on if they say they're an agent. You pay them a commission once you have the work. Number two, you should never be paying or roped into being paid for a package. Well, we will represent you, but you've got to buy this package of headshots and it's going to cost you $500. Well, no, that's a totally separate business. There are a lot of scams out there. You got to use your common sense. You need to know what you will do and what you won't do. And especially for young people, the question of nudity comes up. And that is something you've got to decide and you hold firm to. And that it can be a very tricky one. Other questions are, will you smoke? What about language? There are people with very strong religious beliefs. And you just very clearly state, I do this, but I will not do that. And that is typically how it's handled.
So do you have your own terms in a contract before you go to a job with those things that are important to you?
Well, I don't need to have as much in terms of a contract. With acting on camera and with a lot of voiceover, I go with agents. And the agents already know. And there are databases where you say what you will do and what you won't do. Anything that I do on my own, first of all, the nice thing about being older is nobody wants to see you naked. At least I hope not. Now I'm at the age where I can look at him and go, really? I don't think so. But you very clearly say what you're going to do. And ethical productions are going to be very much upfront and saying this project contains partial nudity or there's bad language. And you can decide, if you're a parent of a child actor, do you want your child to be exposed to that or that kind of material? 99% of the time, though, there is no issue whatsoever. If you are going to be in a production, let's see, that's violent and there might be guns involved. First of all, it should be on a union set, meaning SAG-AFTRA. And they will have all the protocols in place. I think we heard what happened with Alec Baldwin and all that.
Yeah.
They will have somebody there who is a specialist, and they should not have, now maybe they'll have real guns, but demonstrate that they are not loaded, or prop guns. If it is a non-union set, you got to use your own awareness and make sure that they are professional and don't do anything you're not comfortable with. For example, on this set that I'm with, they had a stunt coordinator, big burly guy. I mean, you do not mess with him. And because my character, spoiler alert, is slapping and stabbing, they had to show me how to hold my hand and arm a certain way for the camera, how to move in, how to be able to strike without really striking and make it look good for camera. And then they had a knife with a retractable edge. So when I did that, somebody just felt like a little bit of a fist coming at them. It wasn't very much. But you got to use due diligence. And that's just a matter of being aware of what you're getting into and not ever being desperate for work. Besides, casting directors can smell desperation. It'll kill you.
Well, so, and then how do you feel then about, getting experience in independent projects, whether it is, like you say, e-learning or corporate, or practice for a acting for fun or professionally, doing things for free, right? If we're going to be cognizant of how we're protected in terms of like contract agreements, like what you were just saying, how we're going to be respected in our choices, should we be accepting projects for free or no at this point if you're looking to gain experience?
Well, it all depends on what you're talking about. If you are going to want to be an actor, oftentimes when you're first starting out and you're still building your skills, you are going to be working for very low or no budget projects. And if you're interested in getting started, the best way to look at would be for a local film school. And they will have everybody trained, and usually they have to do all these projects undergraduate or graduate, which will be overseen then by their professors, and they will be following things as professionally as you might expect. There are others who will post it. Whenever you do get a project, you want to research, which is so easy now with LinkedIn, or just Google and look them up and make sure that they are legitimate. They are who they say they are. And they're the kind of people that you would want to work with. Now on camera, that's something that you only really do at the beginning of your experience because you're trying to build up a reel. And a reel is of the projects you've really done that show the type of characters you can play. And you can't just make something and pretend that it's real. It has to be real. These free student projects are usually the best places to get started. It may not be the very best quality, but it's good enough to show what you can do. Now with voiceover, unless I'm doing something for a nonprofit and I'm doing it like pro bono, there's really not free work involved with that. Once in a while as a favor, if somebody's making a movie and they need like a 911 operator off camera or a neighbor screaming her head off or whatever, yeah, I'm happy to help out. So that's that. I mean, now in my other work, I do a lot of speaking and I often don't charge for it. I mean, sometimes at a conference, they will pay for my registration, my travel, lodging, and all that. A lot of speakers don't get paid for what they're doing, but if I'm consulting or coaching, of course, then that's going to be paid. So it's a matter of where you are and how you want to get started. You just don't ever want to be taken advantage of. And if you're trying to build a portfolio of work, you want to also be aware of your progress. So don't do the same kind of role for free over and over again.
Okay.
After a while, enough is enough. But if you're playing sweet, young thing, and now you want to be able to play more evil, well, that's a different type of character. Do that one maybe for free. And there are different personas that you can present. But, experience will teach you.
Yo! Now, how do I hire you? Right? If you said you are a speaker and I can also hire you for coaching for myself if I need help with getting comfortable on camera for business presentations. What are all the ways that can I come to you in person and can we do this remotely? How do we do this?
Okay. Well, hey, I try to make it one-stop shopping, if you will. I have a website, lauradoman.com. And on there, not only can you see a lot of my voiceover work, but you can ask for a quote. If let's say you have a video and you want a voice for it or a podcast and you're looking for a professional voice to do the early introduction and then the intro and the outro, or anything else that you want, there's a form there. Just contact me and we'll talk. If you're looking for somebody to be able to be a host on camera for another project, you can use the same form, or my website has my email address. Again, it's easy, laura@lauradoman.com. And if you're interested in having me talk to a group of people or work with you one-on-one, I got a form for that too. It's all on my website and it's just under consult. So you could pretty much just go directly to contact me. Tell me what you're interested in. Don't worry about if you're going through this channel or that. Tell me what you're trying to do and we'll figure it out. And as far
as that's exciting.
Yeah, I got to answer the last part, whether it's in person or by Zoom. Yeah, I mean, I'm located in Atlanta, real easy for anybody who's in the general area. If you're willing for travel expenses to bring me to you or to a group that you're working with, great. Otherwise, Zoom is fantastic, or what other connectivity software you might be using. And there's a tremendous amount of work that we can do through Zoom that is just as effective as if we were face-to-face. There you go.
Really? Okay. Well, that's impressive. That would have been my my first concern is, can you really evaluate me over Zoom? So, well, fantastic. And so Laura@lauradoman.com, and that's DOMAN.
Right. Like
right.
Roman,
And so
but with a D.
Okay, and so now where we can watch you, right? You have an Amazon web series, right, that you've started filming, or can I actually find it now?
Well, I did a show last year that has been on Amazon Prime. I'm not sure if it's still there. It's a movie called Falling for the Competition. And I played the lead's mom and confidant. I'm kind of like a little wisecracking owner of the local coffee shop, and so that was a lot of fun. Oh, the fun fact about that one, it takes place in hot, sunny, warm, I think the summer of Florida. It was filmed in the dead of winter in North Georgia. So we were outside in sundresses where it was 30 degrees. Lots of fun. That might still be playing. Otherwise, I have a YouTube channel and a couple of them actually. My main one is under my name at Laura Doman, but because my momisms have been popular, I put them on their own channel. So if you just want to watch like 10 seconds, I've got about 70 of them up there by now, maybe 75. That is at my momisms, my as in my, and momisms, MOMISMS. And I'm on all the social media, and just, check me out. And I've got a lot of samples of my voiceover and acting work on my website, lauradoman.com.
Well, that's all we have time for right now, but this is exciting. I'm so glad that we got to connect today. And go to lauradoman.com and connect with her right there. Thank you for coming to the Dear Business Coach podcast today, Laura. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you. Enjoy talking with you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me today. My name's Elizabeth, coming to you from the Walker Consulting Work Studio in Floyd, Virginia. This has been an episode of Dear Business Coach.